So last Tuesday, St. James Central Member of Parliament, Roy Clark, cited a study by university researcher Dr. Herbert Gale, claiming that, quote, paternal issues contribute to Jamaica's high rate of domestic violence, sometimes leading to murders. Mr. Clark joins us now, along with gender specialist Nadine Spence, to talk some more about this matter as he, Sir Clark, urges a move for paternity tests to be conducted at birth. Good morning to you both. Thank you for being here.
Morning.
Hope you're both well this morning.
I am, certainly. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you there, Miss Spence. Sir Clark, how are you?
Good morning, Simone. Good morning, Neville.
Morning, sir.
Good. I'm great.
All right. Lots of debate being generated out of this comment, Mr. Clark. Tell me a little bit about how you stick and stand by this.
Well, I will stick and stand by my opinion at first, in the sense that Jamaica has the responsibility to all its citizens. But most importantly, the government of the day is responsible for every child that is born up until the age of 18. And so we have established different agencies to make sure that children are under great care and comfort.
Nadine, how do you feel about that?
About that particular statement that was made? Or?
No, about doing the test at birth.
I think before you get there, though, Sir Clark, because Nadine is right? We need to build it out some more, because I'm trying to get from you, Mr. Clark, what you think the link is between the paternal issues and the rate of domestic violence.
I notice that persons are concentrating mostly on the domestic violence of the argument that was raised. But my concern is not really about that result of it, but really the child that has that gets the emotional stress or the psychological stress, knowing at an age that the person that he would be referring to as daddy for how many years is not his real father, and also the father himself, who would be taking care of that child, nurturing and everything, to find out that he is not the paternal father. And so I opined that paternity fraud, we need to just get rid of it at the beginning of everything, so it lessens the stress both on the child and the father.
Okay. All right. Nadine?
Okay, so I guess if I were to address the matter of quote-unquote paternity fraud, there are two things I'd like to say. Firstly, in Jamaica, there needs to be an understanding of how this happens and the prevalence. We have no stated study that says this is the reality of it. Some years ago, if you remember, the American embassy came out and said, as it relates to Jamaica, they have found that in instances where people are applying to migrate, there are high instances of paternity fraud, and I think they gave it that name.
And I think they were saying like it's 70%. It was high, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't remember what they said.
70% was the number quoted.
I don't remember the percentage. I've been looking to see what they said, but I can't find the references to that particular article that came out in the Gleaner. And that's what it was. It was an article that came out in the Gleaner. The organization that does the testing in Jamaica says that when people turn up for paternity testing, where there is doubt of paternity, there is a 70% chance that the paternity is not confirmed in those cases. But that is where people have doubt, where people already recognize that there is an issue and they turn up for testing. When there is doubt, they are usually right. But we have not yet done a study, a national study, nor have we examined the issue to understand the extent of it, to understand how we deal with it. So I would think that the first thing that we need to do as a nation is to understand the problem before we recommend a solution based on what we perceive to be the problem. We first need to do a thorough study of it. Perhaps I would have like to hear a parliamentarian say, you know, let us set up a commission, let us look at this issue, let us examine how Jamaicans are being impacted by it. And then from this, we make recommendations as to the best way to deal with it. No, we are sensationalizing an issue that could be of importance. We just don't know the level of importance.
In that study, Mr. Gale said, or Dr. Gale, in order to have DNA at birth, the state would have to use taxpayers' money to subsidize it. He said these tests can cost over $20,000. He said, I have advised policymakers for 12 years that these monies would achieve maximum positive results to reduce violence and paternity fraud if they gave it to the poorest mothers, the ones they fear are giving men jackets. Your comment on that, Nadine, before I go back to Mr. Clark?
Again, if you listen to that statement, I never, to be honest, I would have liked to hear a statement that says, you know, this is how widespread this is in Jamaica. These are the people most impacted by it.
Yep.
But what we hear now is a suggestion that perhaps it's the poorest of Jamaican women that are impacted in this way, which, I mean, there are so many things wrong with those kinds of assumptions.
Yep.
And so it sounds like a socioeconomic issue. We don't know. In some cases, it sounds like women are just being deceptive and bad. We don't know. We don't know what the issue is. We know we've all heard talk about jacket in Jamaica and whose child is not whose child, and we like to whisper about it. I think if it's a serious enough issue, it should be fully brought into the public and ventilated, and we should hear a conversation that is beyond gossip and beyond the perception that, you know, this woman is bad or this woman is good or that man is fool or whatever.
Yeah.
We need to hear fully what the issue is, and then we can have a discussion that takes us beyond the cascade.
What about that statement that Mr. Clark just made in response to Simone's question when he said it would be better to find out very early than when you reach 12 and 14, all of a sudden you hear, so this is not your father and the father, this isn't there merit in that?
But think of what that means, Neville. When you become a father, you don't become a father upon the birth of a child. You're a father upon the announcement of pregnancy. So what does it mean that we suspend fatherhood until birth? That is the suggestion in Parliament is problematic. It's not well thought out. It doesn't present a solution to any of the problems, because the issue is not at the moment that paternity is assigned. The issue is with trust and relationships and how men and women are navigating their intimate relationships. And what are the reasons that would lend, for example, the claim in the study, women from a lower socioeconomic background to be engaged in this practice than women who are more educated and not from a higher socioeconomic background. And so it's not as we are seeing it just now. It needs more understanding.
Yes.
We need to delve into it a little bit more.
Mr. Clark, it sounds to me like Nadine has some valid points. You know, my own questions are, you know, what is the catalyst for this in the absence of that overarching data? We know the report that came from the embassy, but as she said, it spoke to a particular, sample, people who are already in doubt. Have we taken that and conflated it to speak to the entire society? Have we used that as a sample? Is it representative enough? So what would cause us to move to this step? And then what is this step hoping to achieve is what I'm saying. And do we have the information that we need to be able to make the kind of pronouncements that we are making?
Simone, I'm very happy for that question. The fact is that, yes, I never read a part of Dr. Gale's report. And yes, we depend heavily on persons doing studies from time to time to make our conclusion towards a matter. Also the fact that the statistics that were sent out somewhat by the US embassy speaks to numbers, and we can't hide, we cannot hide that. Those are numbers coming from them to say that, okay, out of all the DNA testing that is required for persons filing for relatives, their offsprings, it speaks to 70% of it not being in the positive. And so we have to pay close attention to that.
But is that a
Also the fact,
representative sample, though, Mr. Clark, is what we're saying, for the entire Jamaica, right? So these are people who are looking to go abroad,
exactly.
need to get...
Yes, we do understand. And each time that you do a survey, a poll, or a research, it is a marketing sample that will be used.
No,
And
but you
so
don't
we
know how the sample
cannot,
choose and the demographic, and it's a whole heap of other things to consider to see if the sample can be deemed representative of the nation.
that could very well be so, Simone. But my argument is that rather, I heard Nadine spoke about if you're going to put fatherhood on hold. No, you're not going to put fatherhood on hold. But rather than wait until the child is 12 or 15 years old, say to the child from before the child is even old enough to understand what is happening, that that man is not your father. Because what will happen is that once the DNA test will be done, and yes, it is the government who is going to have to foot the bill. Yes, the government may have to put in the units in the different regions to make it a lot cheaper for the DNA testing to be done. Because why is it expensive now? It is expensive because it is privately done, and whosoever is doing it now is doing it for a profit. But if the government is going to be doing it as part of their responsibility to the children of Jamaica when they are born at birth, then the government will have to put in a unit. That will make it that lot cheaper. So I am saying again that rather than wait until the child is of the age where they understand what is happening, say to them by way of a DNA test, that man is not your father. It works twofold. If the gentleman is not the father, then we move to the next point. But if he is the father, then the responsibility of child support and being a father must also be adhered to, and that man must be held to be the father of that child.
I have a question, Sir Clark. Well, I've several, and I know Nev has some as well. I'm wondering if this is a government matter, because in the cases now where we have fathers who have been proven to be fathers, many of them are not doing what they ought to do. And I suppose that is already an issue. How do we fix that before we get into fixing this? Nadine, I want to come to you. I'm coming back to you, Sir Clark, but I want to know if you feel is this a government matter? Nadine?
Well, two things I want you to know. That in Jamaica, for a man's name to be on a child's birth certificate, he has to be there in person and he has to agree. It's not automatic that a man is assigned paternity. So already we have that hurdle that has been in our system already. There are a lot of children in Jamaica who don't have their father's name on their birth certificate. A man has to consent to a child's name being on the birth certificate. If a man at a point feels as if this child, I'm not quite sure, and in relationships, I think, and this is just me speaking off the bat here, couples know, I think, when they are not so sure. If at that point they can get a test, because that is what is happening now. A lot of people are calling on the resources that are available to work that out for themselves if they are in doubt. If it is that people are taken to the court, for example, people can use the court system to say, I'm not sure. So there are already systems in place to facilitate paternity testing. If you are unsure that a child is yours, you can take it to the court and say, let us work it out at the level of the court if the mother doesn't want to do so willingly. So systems are in place already. What we are discussing here is to say that at the birth of every Jamaican child, the government is going to then take over between consenting adults and decide paternity by a paternity test. No, that is wrong on so many levels in a free society, in a democracy. How does a government impose itself in relationships that way? What if there are relationships where people don't mind that the child that they are asked to father is not theirs? What is going to happen in that case? And this is me then just citing examples of why this is problematic. You know, it's not automatic for every relationship, for every child born in Jamaica, where say even if My partner and I are quite sure of our engagements. You're going to say we need a paternity test
I think
regardless.
what
There
Mr.
is
Clark is
doubt
saying that
involved.
it's important for the selfhood of the child, for the child to know early, and for the father who, well, whether he's in doubt or no, I guess, to know. Sounds like that's the
Simone,
argument. Nadine, what say you to...
may I answer, may I comment on some of what Nadine spoke about? The fact of the matter is that laws are laws, and once it is in law, then we have to pay attention and we have to do what the law says. Asking for paternity test to be at the beginning when the child is born. Once it becomes law, then you don't ask a person to be there. It is necessary because now we're asking that the father has to sign a document for his name to be on the birth certificate. So in essence, it's not that you are in doubt whether you're the father or not. We are saying we want to make sure as a government that you are the father. And once you are the father, it comes with other responsibility. When you go to court for child support, somewhere down in the life of the child, the judge is saying to you, go do a DNA test and come back to court so that the court can then proceed. I am saying, rather than wait until then, let us have it at the beginning, right at birth, and so the father will know, I am the father of this child. So whatever that is going to be done, whether it is a medical procedure, whether it is filing for a child, whether it be a court case, that birth certificate, when taken before the authority that requests it, it is going to say that Tom Jones is the father of Denny Brown. That is where I'm going with the picture. So I'm saying to us, ladies have nothing to fear. Ladies have nothing to fear. What we need to be is to be very and more responsible as adults when we are coexisting, however and wherever.
I have to jump in, Member of Parliament, because we have to go. We could continue this all day. Nadine, always great to see you. Thanks for being with us this morning.
He said ladies have nothing to fear. We did say we were fearful.
No, but he was saying that ladies have nothing to fear. But again, we have to move on. We have so much more to do here on Smile. Great to see you, Member of Parliament. Great to see you, Nadine.
Thank you.
I think this needs to be aired a little bit more, maybe a lot more. He's the St. James Central's Member of Parliament, St. James Central Member of Parliament, Heroy Clark, and gender specialist, and our good friend here, Nadine Spence. Stay with us. We talk to the Honourable Minister of Finance when we come back. Stay with us, please.